Hello, this is Ken, your podcast preacher, and I want to welcome you back to Deep Waters. This podcast is brought to you by Applied Strengths Ministry, where we believe working together in our strengths is the effect of working out the will and calling of God in our lives. The title of this message is Darkness. This is a multi-episode series in which this is episode 4 of 7. So again, we see hope in the matter because of Job's relationship to God. He was able to hear God when God addressed him. So now we transition into the world of King David and his explanation of darkness. For sure we know two things that override the rest without deeming them obsolete, and that is that God is light and there is no darkness in him, and that he can be seen in the darkness without being contaminated by it, if indeed it was ever able to do so. Psalms 18:9. He bowed the heavens also and came down with darkness under his feet. And if he did it, that is, had darkness under his feet, might we also commit to doing the same thing? Well, if you ask my wife, sometimes she says I have darkness under my feet, but I don't think it's the same darkness God had under his. Psalms 18:11. He made darkness his secret place. His canopy around him was dark waters, and thick clouds of the skies. Is not the seas as dark as nighttime if you go down enough? So is sin if you go down enough. But God is your buoy and can lift you out of every situation that he himself does not and did not put you in. Did not Jesus state in 1 Thessalonians 5:3, "For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them, as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape." Well, yes, he did. And we know this because I took it and put it right there. So when King David states that although the foundations of the earth are unstable, do you believe he is a liar? And that if you go into whatever place that is you go into, that it will be okay? Look, so far everyone who has ever said that God does not exist has been proven wrong. Luke 16:19-31. I don't know who came up with that one, but wow, are we so thick that we believe that we don't believe in this stuff? That the end would happen exactly and precisely as God had said it would? Jesus declared the intelligence of rocks to those who had hearts made of stone and ears that could not and would not hear the truth. Luke 19:40. But he answered and said to them, I tell you that if these should keep silent, the stones would immediately cry out. So rocks know things are bad all over, but we who claim to be smarter than they cannot. Here's a hope vitamin for those who think this message is getting too heavy. We are made in his image and likeness. Genesis 1:26-27. Now you may not like what you see in the mirror. Maybe you do not like what you have become, what others have done to you, how time has marred your image, how genetics has poisoned your DNA. So you think, whatever the reason is for you not liking your image, you can focus on this image of him in you and reflect on this one thing if you are able, and that is that you look like God. Yes, you may look like your natural father who may have abused you incessantly. But what you have that rocks do not is the ability to choose whose image you are made in and what image you will reflect on. I touched on this earlier and will show you that we are not all that different from our way old ancestors. In Psalms 88:18 it states, Loved one and friend you have put far from me, and my acquaintances into darkness. So now what does this look like today besides the same today as it did yesterday? It looks like when your ship runs ashore, everyone wants to jump overboard and save themselves. Acts 27:30-31. Collateral damage happens when a leader decides to sail, when he should have stayed in the harbor. However, if you can grab hold of this principle, which is that it is sometimes safer to remain in the sinking ship for a moment, rather than jumping into a tumultuous seas of confusion and emotional chaos. Family, friends, acquaintances, disciples, church leaders. Yes, there is no limit to who will scurry when the light of God reveals the ignored darkness and all of its secrets. But not to worry, they will deny that. That is, whatever they did, so doing. God has simply called them to other corners of the world, and it just happened not to be the one you were standing in. Now, if you can go through this season properly and without bitterness towards any, yes, any of them, then surely God will continue to move in your life. A note of recommendation: when you are leaving the island of Malta on an Alexandria ship, do not go back to Malta. Do not try and restore what was taken apart by the storm. Acts 28:1 and 11. Some people like to buy cars that were caught in floods, hurricanes, or tornadoes because they can get them cheaper than a good used or new car. The only problem is that you will tend to always have issues with the car. It is no longer reliable or trustworthy. The storm was usually too much for it, and time will reveal that reality. Psalms 27:2. Clouds and darkness surround him. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. When you sing, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty," do you think of things like this? You say you are not a brave one in this lost kingdom of darkness, and yet you say to this one, to his very face, you shake your bony finger and say, "You do not exist, and I hate the very mention of your name." And you tremble not one iota. What will be your end? What would mine have been had I resisted him just 1 second longer than his patience was aligned to last in my situation? If his presence is beyond description, how much worse will his lack of presence be? Psalms 107:14. He brought them out of darkness and the shadow of death, and broke their chains in pieces. You see, it's not all alarming. Sometimes Christianity can feel somewhat like a fisherman's lure, pulling from the bottom of the sea to sinking to the bottom of the sea. Light dark, light dark, light dark. But know this, that each season where God is to address your darkness, upon your request of course, is that some seasons are shorter than others. Nonetheless, they will be addressed, and never forget that he can be found in the darkness as much as in the light. This is not taught in many churches, and for reasons beyond sense they continue to remain in the business of perpetually reproducing immaturity in disciples, so that they will no longer remain Christians. Psalms 112:4. Unto the upright there arises light in the darkness. He is gracious and full of compassion and righteous. If you are upright and not laying down on the job, I couldn't help myself, then you will see him as he is. He does not take much light to pierce through the deepest, thickest of darknesses. Psalms 139:11. If I say, "Surely the darkness shall fall on me, even the night shall be light about me." Sounds like a Job moment or season. If you be in one, stay the course throughout this entire message. You are not alone. Psalms 139:12. Indeed, the darkness shall not hide from you, but the night shines as a day. The darkness and the light are both like you, the you being God. Okay, so we are made in his image and likeness, but don't have sleeves like his. Nothing up my sleeves, he says, and yet whether it be daytime or nighttime, he sees them the same. So when I walk outside in my forest yard, it usually takes one crack of a small stick in the far distance to squelch my journey to cast my eyes on the stars of the night. But if I could see night as a day, then the stars would have my full undivided attention. Psalms 143:3. For the enemy has persecuted my soul. He has crushed my life to the ground. He has made me dwell in darkness like those who have long been dead. Remember, this is a message about the many faces of darkness. And well, before we die, like really die, we should meet darkness face to face. If we come out of the light into the light, what advantage is that to us? We must see the contradictions in life to appreciate the darkness and enjoy the light. So we move from the shadowy valleys of darkness and into the wonderful light of wisdom. Proverbs 4:19. The way of the wicked is like darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. Well, that's it for today. Remember, it's not what you find wrong or disagree with regarding these messages, but what you can take away from it. Together we can do more to impact the kingdom than if we work alone. Let's flip the script and kill, steal, and destroy the works of the enemy and create space for the light of life to shine through into people's lives. Plant a seed and click on the like and subscribe button. Let's build this ministry together. Thanks, and see you next time in Deep Waters.